Welcome back. On today's Dungeon Design Drive-By, we take a look at an encounter I designed called the Sunken Temple. I'm Mark William, and you're watching By DND. Welcome to the Sunken Temple. It's a marsh wasteland, hidden deep in the jungle. I designed this board with a very specific idea in mind. First, I'm going to kind of look at the board and where the players are going to find themselves. Basically, the players have been traveling. They've been looking for the Sunken Temple deep in the woods, and they finally can view it in the distance. They're searching for a relic that I've used this standard bearer to symbolize. Not the bearer himself, just the standard. And the whole premise of this board is for the heroes to basically assault the temple and get the relic. However, who's guarding the temple? Lizardfolk. Often not seen in games or often ignored. I have a ton of Warhammer miniatures, so I couldn't ignore Lizardfolk. And as I'm showing some minis today, I might go over them in a mini talk later. But for now, I really wanted to make them the central antagonist. So it's this Lizardfolk temple deep in the jungle. It's a marsh. I've used all these pools of water, shrubbery. I like these cool, there's swords sticking out of the water. There's been many battles here. I get a very Witcher feel to this whole board. It's just desolate, and the players arrive on the scene. And if you look at the board, it's almost sectioned off into 3 different parts. And in this first section, players are going to, as I see it, the minute they get close to the temple, the Lizardfolk do detect him.
And this guy, I have this cool guy who's...
Right at the temple, all the Lizardfolk are worshipping the standard, but they detect the players. And at that moment, they're gonna have these basically trumpeteers, or I guess you would call them sergeants, calling upon more Lizardfolk to attack the intruders. Of course, you could play this very stealthily if you want. They could sneak through the marsh all the way up to the temple, but for my purposes, I want them to be basically a crazy charge to the temple. So as the players start, I would say roll initiative, and the game would begin. They would notice the people on the platforms, and as they took their turns, I'd be rolling a d4 and spawning more Lizardfolk from these spawn locations. So 2 here, however many number, are going to be coming out at the characters. From that spawn point, and even from here in the temple. These guys will start moving forward. So the idea is that the monsters keep coming. It's an unlimited amount, putting pressure on the players as they try to maneuver through this sunken wasteland. Now, these Lizardfolk, a lot of this terrain has to do with positioning the Lizardfolk. They have short bows. They're going to be hopefully going for some of these half-cover locations, setting up defenses as the players are progressing. But even there's some opportunity for the players to use some of the terrain to get some half-cover. Basically, it's going to be the slog all the way up, and I'm going to constantly be rolling and replenishing the Lizardmen, unless that is they manage to take out each person who's been summoning them. So that's their objective, really, to kill the people calling on more skinks. To kill the people calling on more skinks. To kill the people calling on more skinks. Calling on more Lizardfolk, and basically it's a massive onslaught. Now, another key feature about the Lizardfolk is that they will have low hit points. I just love this idea of getting 4 strong players. Like I'm a paladin, I have a ranger, I have this big half orc guy, and a dwarf. I mean, wizards could be cool for some area damage stuff, but really just players running through and hacking through the Lizardfolk. They would have like low hit points, maybe even just like 1 hit point each, and their only danger is just overwhelming them and shooting them from distances. Even, I wouldn't be afraid. Again, there's a lot of terrain obstacles. On some of those D4 rolls, they're not just going to come out of the woods. They're going to come down the river on rafts. They're going to just pop out of cool water holes. Lizardfolk can hold their breath for 15 minutes. So it is going to be like a mad run to the temple, but meanwhile, Lizardfolk are coming from all directions. They've been watching this whole scene. They're protecting the relic with their lives. So that's the basic gist of this encounter. And I've added a couple other neat things just here too, where, again, this was very Witcher inspired. There's a treasure chest sunken in the water, some goods here. But I also just positioned these poisonous snakes out in the open. This is a marsh. Temperatures are hot, sweaty, and I've added the snakes there, and I would just keep them out in the open. They're just there. If the players try to maybe grab that treasure, if they try and come into their area, the poisonous snakes will attack them. They'll defend the area, just as another environmental hazard for them. Or you can make them aggressive. But I like having them just right out for the players to see. You could have them hiding as well, but as I said, it's just like another feature of this environment. It is more about the environment. So basically, players, cutting down Lizardfolk, hopefully recognizing that by killing them, the lizardmen will stop pouring out. And eventually, even as they get closer, this is when I'm going to bring out my other models. My big boys. Maybe these guys have more hit points, more damage. I would give them some sort of elite type of abilities so that, again, players have been cutting down a lot of the little guys, but as they get closer, you can add that extra element of these big hulking Lizardfolk. I like this idea. Leaving the temple, jumping in the river, swimming, jumping out of the river, just really taking advantage of the Lizardfolk's abilities. So yeah, that's it for this dungeon design drive-by. Players get to the end, reclaim the relic, and bring it back to whoever wanted it, or maybe they just wanted it for themselves. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this dungeon design drive-by. I hope you took a few ideas from it, and I'll see you next time for another one soon.
So remember, all D&D, all day long, all night till dawn. All day long, all night till dawn.